Christian privilege to me is the advantages that one gets as a Christian in this society. Um, Christianity is the faith that this country was founded upon, so it observes holidays such as Christmas and Easter. People can get days off work for them and days off of school, and yet when it comes to holidays and other faiths, they aren't as recognized.
One of the great privileges, there's many, but one is to know that, once we accept the Lord, we have many brothers and sisters. So I can go to any state, any country around the world, and there's going to be Christians that are going to be considered my brothers and sisters.
I think there are a lot of people that consider Christian privilege the rights that they have come to expect with being a Christian, which I actually think is a false dichotomy, because I don't think that Christ ever holds up any rights that are to be expected with being a Christian.
To me, Christian privilege is having my religious holidays respected among our education system. Currently, we get time off for Christmas and Easter, and I think that's really cool that our religion is so respected.
Christian privilege is the fact that I can walk down the street and not worry about being hurt. I can go to church on Sunday, Wednesday, and it's widely accepted in my culture.
Christian privilege is really the absence of things like discrimination, etc. So if I weren't a Christian, what could happen is I could get discriminated against.
It's hard to even see because it is what is considered normal, and normal can easily become invisible unless it doesn't describe you. So Christian privilege is that ability that the dominant culture or dominant religion or dominant worldview, that ability they have to operate more freely, more smoothly, with fewer interruptions, fewer harassments, fewer stigmas within a given culture. Yes, I do think that I'm knowledgeable of other faiths. I know a number of different people that practice different faiths. I also know people that are very spiritual and yet don't acclaim to any faith at all.
There's a lot of beliefs and faiths out there. One that I can share that I know would be the Catholic faith, because as a youngster I grew up in the Catholic faith. I used to go to my grandparents and my parents are Catholic, and so I attended Catholic church. And so that's one faith that I am aware and know about, but there's many.
I do not think that I'm knowledgeable of other faiths in detail. I think I'm probably on the range of the majority. I know of other faiths, I know basic beliefs of other faiths, but as far as all the inner workings and how their faiths affect their lives, I'm not. I know how my faith affects my life.
Yes, I'm fairly knowledgeable of other faiths. Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, not so much Shinto or Hinduism, but yeah, fairly knowledgeable.
As a pastor, I would say no, because my relative knowledge to the Christian faith is much stronger than my knowledge of other faiths. I've dedicated a lot of time and resource to study of the Christian faith, but in that process I've also run across and run into and had to study and interact with other faiths. So as a person that studies faith, my knowledge might be broader than the typical American Christian, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere near as deep as my knowledge of the Christian faith.
I have a friend who practices Judaism, and I think that I have a little bit of knowledge about that, but only because of my friend. I really only know a lot about my personal faith, Christianity. Christian privilege would be like having "In God We Trust" on the dollar bill.
I think that there are people that believe that that Christian privilege is the equivalent to some statements that we would have for, as an example, in like our United States Constitution, things like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that these are inalienable rights. But I think, and that there are, people would say that those are part of the privilege of being a Christian.
You run for office. If you're not a Christian, you better have a really good story behind you, and you better have a very weak opponent, because just because you're a Christian, you probably get 3 to 5 electoral percentages.
Well, this Sunday is the first Sunday of Advent, and for the next 4 weeks, the Christian calendar and the American holiday calendar are going to sync up perfectly, which is a prime example of Christian privilege. For the next 4 weeks, we're going to hear all kinds of Christian themes played through music in stores. We're going to see images of the birth of Jesus on lawns and cards, and on the, of course, on Christmas Day. Many folks are going to. It's going to be the one day of the year, or maybe the second day of the year, that they'll actually go to church, and so it's Christian privilege is our holiday system, or at least the holidays that we celebrate that are religious.
I do not have trouble finding faith groups that I can get along with and that I can integrate myself with easily. There's over 4 Christian groups on the Chico State campus, and other faiths just aren't as recognized and aren't as acknowledged. Throughout all of society, I believe, Christians definitely have this very domineering voice in politics as well.
Part of my Christian privilege is I do get to worship freely and not get criticized. Part of it, I actually feel not bad, but like I don't want to cast a shadow on someone else's beliefs if they don't worship the same way I do. And when I ask like someone that may not worship any holidays, oh, what are you doing for the holiday? I always, I don't want them to feel bad about their beliefs.
Actually, while the Christian faith is still dominant, one of the things that I find fascinating is I think we're entering a post-Christian era, and that is measured through trend, not at any one given time. So if you think about Christendom as a concept, Christendom is the merging of the church with the power structures or with dominant culture, and that's actually been in place in the West for a very, very long time, thousands and thousands of years. But I think that's changing, and so in the last 50 years, I think while Christianity in America remains a dominant organizing principle, it is diminishing in its strength, in its presence, and I think that for a new generation that we're seeing raised now, it is not dominant. So we have grandparents alive today where the Christian faith would be seen as extremely dominant and precious and necessary, and then we have, I think, grandkids alive today that don't understand that, don't see the world through that grid. So I think we're trending towards a marginalization of the Christian faith in America. I actually have mixed emotions about that question, because on the one hand, I recognize that that Christianity, I would say, in the form of Christendom, is the dominant faith in our country, and yet I would also acknowledge that is diminishing, and I'm not afraid of the fact that it is diminishing. It doesn't mean that I necessarily want it to diminish, but I think that there are aspects like Christian privilege that I would say are connected with
the ideas of Christendom that actually do need to diminish, and that we need to recapture a sense of what authentic Christian spirituality really is.
Well, I'm reminded of this country being founded by our forefathers, and I believe every single one of those gentlemen that signed the Declaration of Independence was a Christian, was a believer. And this great nation, I believe, was blessed because of godly men that believed and have faith in God. And I believe that this nation is known to be a Christian nation, which I believe that it is, but it's changing slowly, unfortunately. But God definitely cares for us and wants us to have a relationship with us, and we can go to Him. We don't have to go confess to another man, another person. We can go straight to God, and He's there and He cares for you.
I believe Christians can be allies to other faiths by serving them as best as we know how to. I think that service is a grand gesture of acceptance, and I believe that if other faiths are being oppressed, Christians will be able to stand up and defend those who may be oppressed, and not only other faiths, but maybe other people groups or just even the lifestyle choices of other people. I think that Christians can be allies by standing beside people in turmoil and being a source of comfort and a source of love. And I believe that that can be on a grand scale, and also on a smaller scale, just with individual relationships. I also believe that Christians have a big responsibility of being apologetic about the ways in which Christianity has really, really hurt people. I think that that's something that's really important. And as a Christian, we need to take responsibility for our brothers and sisters who may have caused harm in the name of God, and who may have passed judgment in the name of God, because that's not what we're called to. So I think that just starting conversations with people and being apologetic toward a lot of the fundamentalistic views that this Christian faith portrays through, or that is portrayed about the Christian faith, and just kind of, decrease the stigma and prove it wrong in service and in love and in acceptance. So I believe that's how we can be allies to other faiths.
Christians can be allies to other faiths by using the founding practices of their own religion to help other people succeed and be the best person they can be.
A lot of organizations, a lot of churches come together to meet the needs of the city, of a county, of a disaster devastation, and so I'm just honored to be able to work together and help those that are in need. And I see that a lot of churches, a lot of organizations come together to help those that are less fortunate, those that go through devastations, tornadoes, disasters, floodings. Our church, we support a couple different administrations that help those that are homeless, those that don't have a place to live, don't have food. So we support other organizations that so together we reach those that are less fortunate. So I'm glad that we can come together and work together and show the love of Christ, and that's what we're supposed to do.
Part of my fundamental understanding of who God is and how He works in the world is a basic belief that God is at work everywhere and in everyone's life, whether they see it or acknowledge it or recognize Him or not. And so I think a part of my role then, as I commingle and interact with people of other faiths, is simply to be about the business of acknowledging the places and the avenues and the activities of what I would consider to be God at work in their lives, through them, around them. And so I see it more as a coming alongside of and finding common ground in the places that I believe God is already at work, rather than setting myself up in opposition to and saying God's on my side and He is not on your side. I think that actually becomes a false dichotomy. And so rather than set up a me against them, I think it's more important for me to join God where He already is with them, and to come alongside instead of come in opposition.
Just, there's so much we can do. As being a Christian myself, I truly believe that personal belief is a personal decision, not pressing any pressure or shoulds on anyone else to believe or do or act in the same way. So it's great just to have the mindset that I think comes along with Christianity of wanting to be peacemakers and just kind of disagree or agree to disagree and still be able to be in communion and love each other and have a peaceful existence. And I really do believe that that's what Christianity can do, is no matter what anyone believes or does, it's, we're all human and we have that connection that we can have community together and build a better tomorrow.